All right, y'all, I got two things going on. All right, everybody, come on in. Let's make sure the sound is working. Y'all know I struggle stream. All right, we're good. All right, welcome everybody. Welcome back to the Wives Club. The Wives Club was started in 2021 by the late, great Kevin Samuels. I booked a session with him. Not for me. I'm well aware that I'm average, but I did want to create a community of like-minded and marriage-minded women. So what we do each week in the Wives Club is we keep the Kevin Samuels message alive by responding to his content. So today we're going to be responding to the Christmas roast, which is one of Kevin's videos. He left us quite the catalog. Even though he is no longer with us, his message still lives on. I am Maggie. I am a former wife of 10 years, married my college boyfriend, but I always say, I got caught up in that modern woman mindset, thought men and women were equal. I can do anything a man can do. So unfortunately, it did end in divorce, but I've learned my lessons and now paying it forward. 2 boys from marriage, and we co-parent really well. They actually live with their dad. So very much looking forward to the holidays and hope you are too. Just another mark says, Christmas roast sounds delicious. Okay, so what are we talking about tonight? So if you've seen this video, the Christmas roast, basically this was Kevin Samuels putting himself up on the hot seat and responding to his critics. If you all remember, the late great Kevin Samuels had a lot of, what did he used to call them? Critics and detractors, right? And these were people who had a lot to say about his message, about him personally, really just didn't like that he was speaking up and speaking out. So if you have a chance to watch the video, I did put it in the description, and there was a few takeaways for me, so I'll just give you my 3 and then we'll wrap it up and let you all have your Friday evening. So the first takeaway from me was Kevin had a lot of critics and detractors that didn't like what he was doing. However, he actually had results. He talked often about the mix, which is one of the groups that we were moved in after the Patreon. He talked a lot about the successes that as he had been working with men and women who were looking for different outcomes, he was able to put like-minded people together in spaces and nature takes over. So one of the things that he was saying to the critics and detractors, yes, I have the kitten heels. Yes, I have the man purse. Yes, I have Italian fashion and, all these things that you say, bad about me, but look at my results. And furthermore, where are your results? So what's the takeaway we can learn from that, ladies? I always like to give, younger ladies, especially, I'm 48, but I love to give ladies some tangible things you can take away from. So when I watched this, my first takeaway was consider the source. Opinions are very common. Everybody has them, and everybody's going to tell you what you should do with your own life. And I believe you should, live a life of purpose, but filter the advice you're getting and consider the source. What do I mean by that? That means, ladies, especially my ladies who have been raised by women, surrounded by women, get advice from other women, that's fine if they have the type of relationships that you aspire to have. Or even if they're a divorcee like me, if they own up and tell you what they've done right and what they've done wrong, I think there's wisdom in that. What I see often with ladies, and I do consults outside of YouTube, is that a lot of times women don't talk to men. They're not around men. They really haven't been raised to value men and the opinions that they have. And so they have all this advice to go out there and get that millionaire and you deserve this and you deserve that. Then they get out into the real world and they're fumbling the bag because they don't know how to conduct themselves in traditional relationships. And I always say there's all kinds of relationships and I'm well aware of that. But For those of you who want traditional long-term and marriage, that's what we promote here in the Wives Club. So that was my first takeaway. Really consider the source, ladies, and you can observe and you can ask and you can learn from what people do right as well as what they do wrong. You can learn what to do as well as what not to do. And I think there's a saying about something like a smart man learns from his mistakes, but a wise man learns from the mistakes of others. And I do think that's our obligation as older women to teach the young. All right, so you don't make the same mistakes that we did. So that was my first takeaway. I know we got a couple people in the chat, so if you have any other thoughts or questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them. Or if you all remember this episode, what stood out to you? Okay, that was my first one. I only have 3. The second one that I have, just another mark, says facts. That's exactly how the saying goes. Thank you so much for saying that. It was off the dome, right? Okay, so the second takeaway for me on this Christmas roast from Kevin. Ladies, he had a woman call in and she was arguing him down about possibility versus probability. So let's unpack that and talk a little bit about this. If you all remember, the late great Kevin Samuel was big on facts, data, and statistics, right? And ladies, we have to realize that about men. They're very logical. They don't lead with emotion the way that we do. They don't feel like one time in band camp means that this is how it's always going to be. Hello, Femgum. Thank you so much for being here. So there was a woman who called in and she was explaining that her sister, who was like over 35, had a baby out of wedlock and eventually ended up getting married. She had an issue with him and she was kind of calling in to tell him about himself because she was like, it is possible. He said, okay, ma'am, it is possible, but is it probable? And his definition of probable, which makes sense, is over 50%. So we're talking about the exception versus the rule. And what we see in our community, because, I'll just say a name, maybe a Sierra or someone has a Cinderella story that's wonderful for them. But Kevin was thinking about the collective, the community. For average women like myself, are you going to find someone who's going to rescue you from all of the mistakes that you've made? Most likely not, because the men are saying over and over and over again, we don't want women who are out of shape. We don't want women with children out of wedlock. We don't want these things. And so, ladies, just be very mindful of that, especially if you have someone in your circle that's telling you, yeah, girl, you've got this long line of baggage, but it's okay. Your prince will come. It's going to be harder for you. It just is. And I always put myself right out there and tell y'all, fit, feminine, and friendly. Fitness is a struggle for me. So I have to really, one, watch it. And then I have to, two, really overperform with my femininity, overperform with the things that are important to my man. And if I didn't say, since the divorce, I've been in another long-term relationship, my second, with a 1% man. So I've had to do a lot of work to get on the program, but coming up on 14 years, and I've never been happier. So it is possible, but ladies, it's a lot of work and it's not going to fall in your lap. So just be mindful of that, ladies, when you have someone with a success story that's like, oh, this happened to me. It may be possible. And in the clip, if you watch it, Kevin talked about, okay, you can win the lottery. Somebody's going to win the lottery. Yes. Do you agree? And she said, yes. He said, but is that a wise investment strategy? Would you tell people, go ahead and take your life savings and put it on the, craps table? No, you wouldn't do that. Likewise, would you tell a young woman in her prime, go on out here, hot girl summer, have a baby with somebody else and, delay and give your best years to God knows what. And then when you're in your late 30s and you're tired, you'll find somebody to take care of you and your dependent. It doesn't work that way, ladies. It'd be even, and I'm not saying anything great about me, but the reason why I'm not married, my man basically said, he doesn't want a blended family. So we've got to wait for all the kids to be up and out. And mine are 14 and 16. And all I can do is respect that. So ladies, hear it from me. You don't always get what you want just because you want it. All right. So that was my number two takeaway. And then, the last takeaway for me from Kevin, there was just so much on this episode, but I just really love how he faced his critics head on. He would have what he called a smoke show, which meant you could call in and you could basically disagree with him on the points, not ad hominem, right? We're not going to do personal attacks. Those of us that are on social media, people will come at you and say all kinds of things. But I do understand and accept that people have different opinions and you may disagree. And I really respect Kevin for that. He allowed people to disagree with him publicly. But one of the things that you notice, did you all notice when he would have the smoke show, sometimes it would be crickets. Sometimes it would be, I notice this on my streams too. Like people wait for me to go live and then afterwards they're in the comments under the cloak of darkness about what they don't like. Well, I stream every day. Why don't you say something? Just another Mark says that man only feared God. Yeah, that was the third takeaway for me on this show, the Christmas roast. He was like, here I am. I got my Christian Louboutin shoes that y'all made fun of. I got my Gucci bag that y'all made fun of. The lines are open. Call in. And if you notice in this episode, people would call in, but they wouldn't be on camera, or they would, kind of troll and do that, as we say in the South, throwing a rock and hiding your hands. And especially as a man, and a man who kept masculine frame, it was important. And ladies, we are not men, but I do think as adults, if you are going to confront someone or disagree with someone, that's okay, but there is a feminine way to do it. But that was my third takeaway from this episode, that Kevin stood there and was willing to defend what he believed in. How many of us, whatever you believe in, if someone says, I disagree, are you able to have a logical conversation with them? And it's not about persuading them. It's not about making people, come to your side. But are you able to stand on your principles and say, you know what? I believe in traditional gender roles. I believe in traditional relationships. I was raised to be a wife. I think a hot girl summer is a waste of time. I think selling your soul to corporate America will leave you empty in the end. That's what I believe. And I never say people have to agree with me, but I'm absolutely sure about my convictions. And that's my last takeaway and what I learned from Kevin Samuels. We got Icapone in the house. He says, Hola, Maggie. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, sir. I'll put my little hat on here. But that's what I had. Unfortunately, the other wives weren't able to join me tonight, but the Wives Club is here for you all every Friday. Let's see, is this the last Friday before? This is definitely the last Friday before Christmas. And we will do this one more time. Let's see. Friday the 29th. That's all that I had, everyone. Let's see, I'll drop the link. It's in the chat in case anybody wants to see, but I'll do a quick recap and then we will wrap it up and let you all have your evening. So my first takeaway, again, from the Christmas roast was Kevin Samuels saying, show your work. And ladies, for us, it was show your worth. So make sure if you're going to criticize him or anybody else, it's just a really good principle to say, okay, I disagree with you and this is my evidence, or this is what I've been able to do to be successful. And then number two takeaway for me was probability versus possibility. Ladies, we have that hope gene in us. We want the best for everybody. We want to wish upon a star. That's why Disney is a huge company, and that's fine. But just know, in communication with men, that's not how they operate and that's not how they think. So you're always going to lose a logical argument when you say, well, I know somebody that did it. Yes, but is that the majority of us? The answer is no. And then the third and final takeaway for me was that Kevin was willing to face his critics and detractors. And most people are going to say things probably behind your back. But if you do have the opportunity to debate somebody on the facts, be prepared, be sure of your convictions. And if you're the only one that feels that way, it's okay to be the odd one out. It's okay to be the late bloomer. It's okay to be the ugly duckling that turns into a swan, or whatever they say, but y'all know what I mean. So we will see you all back next week on December 29th. I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas, Happy Diwali, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate, or if you don't celebrate at all. I hope you're enjoying some time with your loved ones. And ladies, if this is another Christmas that you're spending alone, really think about the choices that you're making and the decisions that you have made that have got you to this point. And the Wives Club will be here with you to make those changes for next time. All right, everybody, I'm going to go ahead and let you go. Just another Mark says, nice 3-piece, Miss Maggie. Thank you. All right, I'm glad you like it. 3-piece and a biscuit. All right, everybody, I appreciate it. Good night.